The brass bell above Maxwell's Antiques chimed softly as I unlocked the door, releasing the familiar scent of wood polish, old leather, and history. 3 weeks had passed since I inherited the shop from my grandfather, and my in-laws still couldn't believe I'd chosen to keep it. "Sarah, darling," Diana Maxwell's voice carried that particular tone of aristocratic disappointment she perfected over decades in Boston's elite social circles. "You can't seriously be considering running this establishment." I ran my hand along a mahogany sideboard, one of hundreds of pieces my grandfather had collected over his 50 years in business. "Actually, Mother Maxwell, I am. Grandpa James built something special here." "Special?" She lifted a delicate crystal vase with 2 fingers, as if afraid dust might permanently stain her manicured hands. "It's a glorified thrift store. The building alone is worth more than everything in it." That's what they all thought. The Maxwell family, with their real estate empire and their seats on museum boards, had never understood my grandfather's passion for old things. They tolerated his eccentricity only because he'd married into their money. Now that he was gone, they expected his embarrassing hobby to be quietly closed and forgotten. If only they knew. "Diana, please." My husband Thomas stepped in, ever the peacemaker. "Sarah loved working here during college. Maybe running the shop will be good for her." I suppressed a smile at his choice of words. Thomas meant well, but he shared his family's blind spots. To them, Maxwell's Antiques was a charming diversion, something to keep the scholarship girl who'd married their son occupied. "I suppose," Diana sniffed, "though I still think you should accept Mother's offer. $50,000 is more than generous for this inventory." The inventory she dismissed so casually included pieces I'd watched my grandfather collect with meticulous care over the years. Each item had a story, a provenance he documented in his mysterious leather-bound notebooks. "Speaking of inventory," I said carefully, "I found something interesting in Grandpa's records. Some pieces that might be worth having appraised." Diana's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose. "Appraised? By whom?" "Sotheby's, actually. Their representative is coming tomorrow." The crystal vase nearly slipped from her fingers. "Sotheby's? Why would they waste their time with—" The shop's bell chimed again, interrupting her. A tall man in an impeccable suit entered, looking distinctly out of place among the shop's carefully organized chaos. "Mrs. Sarah Chen Maxwell." He extended his hand. "Marcus Crawford, European Fine Arts Division. I believe we had an appointment for tomorrow, but I was in the area and thought I'd get a preliminary look." Diana's face went through a fascinating series of expressions: disbelief, confusion, and finally, calculation. "European Fine Arts? Sarah, you didn't mention—" "There's a lot I haven't mentioned," I said quietly, thinking of the hidden room I'd discovered last week and the truth about my grandfather's collection. The next hour was enlightening. Marcus moved through the shop with practiced efficiency, his eyes widening slightly at certain pieces. Diana hovered nearby, her dismissive attitude replaced by growing interest as Marcus made notes and took photographs. "The provenance documentation is impressive," he murmured, examining a seemingly ordinary writing desk. "Your grandfather was quite thorough." "He kept detailed records," I confirmed, watching Diana's face. "Every piece, every origin, every transaction." "Yes, I can see that." Marcus paused at a particular cabinet, one I knew well. "This piece, for instance, the craftsmanship is remarkable." Diana stepped closer. "What's so special about it?" "It looks like any antique cabinet." Marcus smiled politely. "This antique cabinet is a previously unknown work by Andrew Charles Bull, cabinet maker to Louis XIV. If authentic, and the documentation certainly suggests it is, its value would be substantial." "Substantial?" Diana's voice raised an octave. "How substantial?" "Several million at minimum." Marcus continued his examination. "And this appears to be just one of several significant pieces in the collection." I thought of my grandfather's final letter, the one I found with his will. "My dearest Sarah, what I'm leaving you isn't just a shop. It's a legacy of patience and perception. Look carefully, my girl. True value isn't always obvious to those who only see the surface." The letter had led me to the hidden room behind his office, where I found the true extent of his collection, and the real reason he'd chosen me as his heir. Diana was practically vibrating with suppressed emotion. "Sarah, darling, perhaps we should discuss this privately." As family. Of course, I smiled. Though you might want to wait for tomorrow's full appraisal. There's quite a bit more to see. After Marcus left, promising to return with his full team the next day, Diana's facade cracked completely. Why did you tell us? She demanded. All these years, James was sitting on valuable pieces. We could have sold them through proper channels, made connections. That's exactly why he didn't tell you, I said quietly. Grandpa James didn't collect these pieces for their monetary value. Each one has a story, a history that matters more than its price tag. Don't be naive. Diana snapped. Art and antiques are about value, about status. If these pieces are truly significant, they need to be handled properly, through the right people. By right people, she meant the Maxwell family's network of art dealers and auction houses, the same ones who dismissed my grandfather's expertise for decades. Everything will be handled properly, I assured her. In fact, there's an auction scheduled for Friday at Sotheby's, by invitation only. Diana's eyes gleamed. Friday? But that's their special auction, the one they've been so mysterious about. Sarah, darling, you must let me help coordinate. My connections. Won't be necessary. I cut in gently. Everything's arranged. Grandpa James made sure of that. After they left, Diana already on her phone spreading the news, Thomas looking bewildered but proud. I locked the shop's door and went to the hidden room. The real treasures were there, along with the truth about how my grandfather had spent 50 years building one of the most significant private collections in America. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Documentation verified. All documentation. Press conference scheduled for Thursday morning. I smiled, running my hand along the spines of James Maxwell's journals. 50 years of detailed records, proving not just the provenance of his collection, but something far more significant. The true origin of many of the Maxwell family's most prestigious art pieces. Diana had no idea that tomorrow's appraisal would reveal more than just valuable antiques. It would expose decades of art fraud, tax evasion, and criminal conspiracy, all meticulously documented by the man they dismissed as a simple antique dealer. Thank you, Grandpa, I whispered to the quiet shop, for teaching me that sometimes the most valuable things are hidden in plain sight. Tomorrow, the Maxwell family would learn that some inheritances are worth more than money. Some are worth their weight in truth. And my grandfather, it seemed, had been playing a very long game indeed. Sotheby's auction room hummed with anticipation. New York's elite art collectors filled the seats, their whispered conversations a mix of speculation and intrigue about the mysterious collection about to be revealed. In the front row, Diana Maxwell sat with perfect posture, already planning how to leverage this newfound family prestige. Darling, she whispered as I passed her seat, I've invited the board members from the Metropolitan Museum. Once they see the collection's quality. Thank you, Diana, I cut in politely, but everything's already arranged. Marcus Crawford approached the podium, commanding immediate silence. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this extraordinary event. Today, we present the James Maxwell Collection, one of the most significant private collections to surface in the past 50 years. The lights dimmed as images appeared on the massive screens, piece after piece from my grandfather's collection, each more impressive than the last. Renaissance bronzes, French royal furniture, lost masterpieces thought destroyed during World War II, all preserved in my grandfather's humble shop. For 5 decades, Marcus continued, James Maxwell built this collection with unparalleled expertise and discretion. But more importantly, he documented everything. I watched Diana's face as the next slides appeared. Her self-satisfied smile began to fade as she recognized certain pieces the Maxwell family had claimed to own for generations. Through meticulous research, Marcus explained, Mr. Maxwell uncovered and documented an extensive network of art fraud and illegal trafficking. His records prove that numerous prestigious collections, including several belonging to prominent families, were built on forged provenance and stolen art. The room erupted in murmurs. Diana's face had gone completely white. The FBI's art crime team has verified all documentation, Marcus announced. And this morning they began serving warrants to recover illegally obtained pieces. Sarah, Diana hissed, grabbing my arm. What is this? I gently removed her hand. This is Grandpa James's real legacy, not just the collection. The truth about how certain families built their art empires. On the screen, photographs appeared showing the Maxwell family's private collection, the one they'd bragged about for generations. Beside each piece was documentation proving its true origin, stolen from Jewish families during World War II, smuggled out of countries during political upheavals, purchased with laundered money. No, Diana whispered. George would never. But her voice trailed off as more evidence appeared. Her husband, the Maxwell family patriarch, had spent decades building their collection through fraud and theft. Mrs. Maxwell, a man in a dark suit approached, showing FBI credentials. We need to speak with you about your family's collection. The next few hours were chaos. Diana was escorted out for questioning. News crews arrived as word spread about the largest art fraud exposure in decades. And through it all, I sat quietly, watching my grandfather's life work finally serve its true purpose. Thomas found me later in the auction house's private room. Did you know, he asked quietly, about my family's collection? I found out last week, I admitted, when I discovered Grandpa's hidden records. Why didn't you warn me? I turned to face my husband. Would you have believed me? Your family spent years mocking him as a simple shopkeeper. Would you have accepted that he'd spent decades gathering evidence against them? Thomas ran his hands through his hair. The foundation money, the museum board positions, our entire social standing, it was all built on stolen art. Not all of it, I said softly. Your father's real estate business is legitimate. But the art collection that gave your family its social prestige? Yes, that was built on crimes. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from reporters and art experts. Everyone wanted to know how a simple antique dealer had orchestrated the biggest art world expose in recent history. The answer lay in the journals I'd found in his hidden room. Detailed records showing how he traced stolen pieces, documented fake provenance, and slowly built an airtight case against the wealthy families who looked down on him for decades. Over the next weeks, the revelations kept coming. The Maxwell family's carefully curated image crumbled as more evidence emerged. Diana retreated to their summer house in Maine, while George Maxwell faced criminal charges for his role in the art fraud scheme. The art world was transformed. Museums and collectors scrambled to verify their collection's provenance. Stolen pieces were returned to their rightful owners' descendants. And through it all, my grandfather's reputation grew as people realized the brilliant mind that had hidden behind his humble shopkeeper's facade. 1 month after the auction, I sat in my grandfather's old office, my office now, reviewing offers for the legitimate pieces in his collection. Museums worldwide wanted to exhibit them, along with the story of how they were preserved and documented. Thomas entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. He'd left his father's real estate firm, focusing instead on helping me establish a foundation for art restitution. The Holocaust Museum called, he said, setting down my cup. They want to create a permanent exhibit about Grandpa James's work in tracing stolen art. I smiled, touching the leather-bound journal on my desk. He'd like that. He always said the true value of art isn't in its price, it's in its story, its journey, its truth. Diana eventually emerged from hiding, humbled but surprisingly adaptable. She even visited the shop, looking at the remaining pieces with new eyes. Your grandfather, she admitted quietly, was a remarkable man. We were too blind with pride to see it. He knew that. I told her. That's why he waited, gathered evidence, and chose the right moment to reveal everything. He understood that sometimes justice takes patience. The shop still stands, though it's different now. Instead of selling antiques, we use it as a research center, helping trace the provenance of questioned pieces. Grandpa James' methods and records have become a blueprint for art fraud investigation worldwide. Epilogue. 1 year later, I found another note from my grandfather, hidden in a secret compartment of that first bull cabinet. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then you've not only found the truth but had the courage to reveal it. Remember that every piece of art tells 2 stories, the one on its surface, and the one hidden beneath years of secrets and lies. Your job now isn't just to preserve these pieces, but to make sure their full stories are told. Because sometimes the most valuable inheritance isn't the art itself. It's the truth about how it came to be where it is. With love and pride, Grandpa James. I keep the note framed in my office, next to the shop's original sign. It reminds me that true value isn't always obvious, and that sometimes the most powerful legacy is the courage to expose the truth, no matter how long it takes. The Maxwell family had thought my inheritance was worthless. They never understood that some legacies are measured not in dollars or social status, but in the power to right historical wrongs. As for me, I kept the shop, the records, and most importantly, the promise I made the day I discovered my grandfather's true work, to never stop searching for the truth behind every piece, every provenance, every story waiting to be told. After all, as Grandpa James always said, art without truth is just decoration. And in a small antique shop turned research center, that principle lives on, one discovery at a time.